What's up, men? Welcome to the Male Cartel Podcast. Let's get started.
Do you think men are important? Like for what?
Men are not meant to be dominant. Men are meant to be submissive.
Life's too short to exercise. I'm just going to be honest.
It's okay to be fat.
Dispelling toxic masculinity and really redefining what it means to be a man. Men can cry. So it's okay to be weak. It's okay to be weak.
I'm telling you right now, not everybody wants to see you win.
You seem to be more woman than you are man. You don't have any manly qualities.
You give them this message that it's okay to be a man.
It's not okay, it's necessary. How are we going to do without men? You look around the city here, you see all these buildings go up, these men, they're doing impossible things.
It ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done.
Be a dangerous man. Being dangerous is not being a threat. They're two different things. You can't be a good man if you're not a dangerous man. You say one disrespectful thing to my wife, I am not only willing, but I'm able to inflict great bodily damage.
I'm going to do everything in my power to become a victor and not a victim. I can't explain it, but you better feel me. Winners win and losers lose. I can't explain it any better than that. I don't know how it happens, but winners win. And if you create a culture of losing, if you keep being a victim, if you keep letting losing happen to you, if you keep letting people do you and treat you any kind of way, it's going to become a culture. What's the matter with you? There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow.
Here's your host, Nick and Shane.
And we back, Male Cartel. We back. This is Shane, and I'm looking at my good buddy, co-host, Nick Carnes.
I'm here. I'm ready to go.
Ready like Freddie. And, man, Christmas is almost upon us.
I'm excited. I'm a December birthday guy, so Christmas is in my blood. So I'm ready for Christmas.
Bro, it is in your blood.
It is.
Like you spread nothing but the holiday cheer.
Yeah, for those who are joining us online, I was going to wear this Georgia Santa hat, and so I had that on to be festive. But before I left the house, my wife, Nikki, said I look like a cancer patient, and so I don't want to make them look bad, and so I'm just putting it over here to the side.
Well, you don't bring any cheer when you throw that G up. It doesn't bring me any cheer. It doesn't make me jolly. It doesn't give me a holly jolly Christmas, dude.
Well, I mean, it's Orange Bowl's nothing to kind of be ashamed of, but when you had a team that was ranked number 1 or number 2 all year in the Bulldogs, and you are so close, you only lose by 3 points to Alabama. It's not the greatest of Christmas either. Yeah. But today's National Signing Day, so we may get an early Christmas and some signings or maybe some flips or something like that.
I heard your QB, man, he's staying. I just heard that news.
Yep. So that's an early Christmas present.
Well, if you're a Florida Gator like me, we're going to the cereal bowl or the toilet bowl.
And you in a bowl? Did y'all make a bowl?
No, we didn't make anything. We're just eating cereal, watching you guys play, And so
I try to watch my language. Like I say, are y'all going to a bowl? We don't play, so we ain't going anywhere. We can critique, because I got a lot of critiquing to do, even for like the Atlanta Falcons. Fire Arthur Smith.
Well, dude, that is what makes fanhood, I guess you could say, like that's real, dude. Like, yeah. I think you can be in. I think if you have 2 eyes and you have some noodles up there, I think you can look at and see what's happened. I mean, we can actually see, like, if you think of the from an NFL standpoint, they got guys in the booth, even the high school level. So sometimes it's like, okay, they got 8 in the box, and you're averaging like 0.4 yards a carry.
Yeah.
And the best play to do right now is to run the ball up the middle.
Right up the middle.
Are averaging 0.4 yards a carry. So that is the wisest thing. No. But what happens is, I do believe that people, like any job, any occupation, that you think you're smarter than you are, and you try to outsmart, versus just playing the odds and, using what we would consider common sense. And sometimes you reach such an intellect that you really can't, simple tasks you overthink, And I think that's how some things, Remember
or
back
you
in the,
get comfortable
Yeah,
doing the
dude.
same routine. Or,
Yep.
That's what Mike Bobo gets accused of sometimes, running up the middle. But, I mean, I'm not a huge Mike Bobo critic because he has averaged 30 plus, 40 plus a game in his tenure in some years as the coordinator. But there are those times, deserving criticism on a play.
Yeah.
A whole body of work, maybe not.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you can do that on some defenses, but not like on an Alabama or, some of those more powerhouse defenses. But I do try to be careful on the we, because I ain't out there playing.
That's right.
It's like, there are teams, so we say we, but we're not the ones out there grinding and doing the work, doing the two-a-days.
You know me, I do not look at college different. I just look at college and like high school. They're just kids. You know what I mean? They're just young. But the professional, bro, I'll critique like crazy. But if you show me like that you have like you have a good track record, I will always give you the benefit of the doubt because you don't know what's going behind the scenes, and finances and contracts and things like that. But when it comes to the Falcons, literally, Riddler is the QB. So if those who are tuning on, you don't know anything about football or the Falcons, they are just a so average team. Okay, this is not if they were a restaurant, it's not the one you take your girl on the first date to.
Right.
They're just so average. It's like crazy. But they got a lot of talent and they just seem to just do the same stupidity, like after stupidity after stupidity. But they got a QB who's a great quarterback, right? In college, I thought he was great, but he's not doing too good. And so he's on the bottom rung, one of the worst quarterbacks in all the NFL.
He is.
And it just doesn't make any sense,
But and we're going to talk a little bit about that later, kind of some of our gifting.
Yeah, that's right.
Talent. I believe there's difference sometimes in gifting and even talent, because talent, I believe, can be there's natural, but also can be taught. But we'll get into that. But yeah, for sure. And you see that in college.
That's right.
What is a phenomenal college athlete doesn't always translate into the NFL, or maybe they need to make a change. That was said of even Tim Tebow there for a while, that great college quarterback, but it just wasn't translating. And sometimes it's the system or whatever. It could be the offensive coordinator that you're under. And so there's a wide variety of different factors.
Yeah.
But I didn't know Arthur Smith, the coach for the Atlanta Falcons, was the son of one of the business partners and friends of Arthur Blank. And
there you
so, that's why you go, hey, no other coach has been given this kind of grace.
Yeah.
I wonder why. And I think it's because of the friendship. It'd be hard.
Yeah.
It was like your son working for me or my son working for you. It would be.
It'd be a lot different.
It'd be hard to like, hey, you're fired.
That's right. That would. Well,
Give
you're
him
right.
the Donald Trump.
Well, you look at though, and when I look at that, I go, scheme. As me working with athletes, I just see scheme is just about everything. I think like the Ravens, which is now the NFL, talking about sports there, but like the Ravens, they scheme, set Lamar Jackson up for Lamar Jackson to succeed. If you threw him with the Patriots, it would not work.
Well, you know why?
Why is that?
Georgia's former offensive coordinator, two-time national champion, winning Monken is the new offensive coordinator there.
Oh, okay. Well, then there you go. It's just
that's why we didn't.
So
win.
Just hire.
That's why we're not in the playoffs.
Just hire a Georgia coach, and then he will succeed.
Well,
basically.
Philadelphia just pretty much drafted the Georgia Bulldogs anyway.
I know,
so.
dude, and they're on like a 3-game losing streak right now. They just can't get it together. I watched that game and I was like, they just look. They just got a good defensive plan against them, not letting Hurts, which is their QB.
Well, he's Alabama, so
he was a Bama guy and Oklahoma guy, and they just closed the lanes. He's successful as he drops back and then he goes up the middle. That sets up the pass, sets up the run, sets everything up really. And so they close those lanes down, so it makes him go to the outside, and he struggles on the outside. And so that was the blueprint. So
once some guys, once they get figured out, that's it. That's all.
It. That's
all
a wrap.
they got to do.
So we'll
that's
see,
what happened with a lot of quarterbacks.
Yeah.
They have a successful 1 year blow up, and then defensive coordinators figure it out and shut them down.
You mentioned something like Julie Edelman that played for the Patriots. He was a quarterback.
Really?
He was a quarterback all through college. He was a quarterback, and then when he switches positions, and he was a lights out slot receiver. He just didn't have a cannon for an arm or anything like that. You think Taysom Hill, who was okay in college, but he is a fantastic runner with the ball. So he plays quarterback, running back, tight end, whatever, H-back, whatever they need on offense, he kind of plays. He's kind of a gadget player. And so it's real funny when you look at different positions. There's been guys who played lacrosse, and one guy plays for the Eagles. He's the left tackle. Can't think of his last name, but he was a star rugby player. Never played football in his life. But he has some intangibles, some giftings, some talents, and he just put it all together with an incredible work ethic. And look what happens. He just signed like a ginormous contract last year, and he's like making bank, and he's an all-pro and all those things. So
some of these athletes are just crossover. They can do multiple different things. And I think Georgia just signed out a transfer portal wide receiver Humphreys from just drew a blank on the worst team, Vanderbilt.
Augusta Tech.
Vanderbilt.
Okay.
And but same thing, they said like up until maybe his junior or senior year in high school, he ran track, played soccer, wasn't even really, football wasn't on his radar. So he more of an late football, but immediate success. His parents been athletes at like Auburn and South Carolina. His mom went to South Carolina. She was an athlete. Dad was an athlete at Auburn, and now he's choosing Georgia. So and was Vanderbilt, which you got to be smart to get into Vanderbilt,
dude. You'd be really smart, smarter than me or you, bro.
So what's going on for Christmas for y'all?
Man, we're just chilling, man. We're chilling. Nothing much. We stay here. Church got a couple different services. We go to the local amphitheater type of I don't know what you would call it, performance arts center. Okay, I sound real like ritzy, I guess you could say.
That's the new place.
That's that new
in
joint.
Columbia County.
Yeah, Columbia County. So that's on Sunday.
Do they call it the Pack?
The Pack. Yeah, the Pack. Coming to the Pack. You sound like you're from New York. Which we just came from New York, you know. I think we talked about before, was it New York? My daughter and I, and then, matter of fact, yesterday, and you guys did this at your church, went downtown to Broad Street Ministry Center, and we served on Tuesday, and your church did the same thing.
The week before.
We
had enough people to do 2 weeks, and they kicked us out for y'all.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Man,
they just said another church was interested in serving, so we took a week, y'all took a week.
Well, they reached out and was like, hey, I want a text thread with my Brooklyn people, and they were like, hey, do you, who wants to come and serve? You can. And I was like, you know, and what we usually do is, we do things just in Evans area, just where we live, and for families, and so we just do things as far as like loving on people and serving people, and we just find ways that we can do that during the holidays, so my kids can always get that attention off of themselves and put it on other people. And so we served the less fortunate yesterday, my boys and I, and it was awesome. And then tomorrow night we'll go to we always go to do bell ringers, and so Salvation Army. Some people who do the Salvation Army bell ringing, they're actually from, and you know, they sleep or they attend Salvation Army, and so anybody can really do it, but we try to find somebody that we kind of build a little relationship with. We go bring them coffee, and is what we do, or hot chocolate. We make a run. We talk to them for a while, and we try to share the gospel with them. I say we try, but my kids and myself, and then we just like love on them, and we go do coffee, and we bring it to them, and then we're gonna do the same thing, bring some cookies to people that we know that are firefighters or police officers that are out working. Yeah. And so we have till Friday to do that, and so we try to do those service projects. But it was a good twist just to spend a better part of about 3 hours or so.
Nice.
Yesterday, that with my boys, and seeing my sons praying and for people, and they weren't with me; they were with other people serving. And I got just the text message after text messages how my boys were just saying, "Hey, I pray Jesus is in your heart," is what my sons would say, and then he would just pray for them. And so, you know, just serving other people. So so we're just
and I like how Broad Street does that, where you get to talk to the people one on one.
Yeah,
a little bit after 2020, they did something around tables where you got to sit with them and they ate dessert, and you got to just kind of hang out with them, let them know that they're not a number, they're an actual person.
Yep.
And so especially around the holidays, that's real important and special for them to just feel loved. And appreciated and know that they are known and loved, and they're not just, oh, we're trying to look good, or here's you some food, but you're just a number.
That's
type mentality. So I really like how they do that, and love that we get to participate, and glad it was y'all, because we had been told it was another church. So when I saw the photos, I was like, good. I'm glad. But that it got to be Warren that was serving. So
it was great, dude. I mean, from somebody who have received many free foods, and boxes and all that. My kids have heard all my stories of me growing up my childhood, and so for them, they just put daddy in that. And so I just love how my kids and I think that's just because of my experience. And so it's something I used to be really ashamed of. Would never talk about being poor or not having things or birthday parties or any of this other stuff. Not having much and going through really tough times. My kids have heard those, and so my kids don't see people like that. But I used to be very ashamed of that, dude. And so now just God's able to spin it around, and now my kids, they just see people, and I'm very grateful for that, because you always wonder if your kids, and you got great kids too, and so you've been around substance abuse, and you've worked at centers, and you've always been super missional, and so your kids are the same way. They would give their shirt off the back for anybody, and so
what was Christmas like for you, kind of growing up?
Oh, man.
In those type situations, because I know it was for me, and so what was that like? Because I know some people, they frown on holidays because they might have had it bad because of maybe divorce situation where mom and dad weren't together, so it really wasn't festive, or the joy wasn't there as it was maybe in some families, and so the holidays come along, Christmas, Thanksgiving, all those, and they don't really care for them. While then there's others like myself who love it, even though, I mean, it wasn't, sometimes it's feast and famine. It's not like you can always look at other people and go, oh, they got this. We didn't. So it wasn't always about that for me, but I understand for some it can be very challenging. How was it for you?
Yeah, dude. So for us, I mean, I remember distinctively, when my parents were still together, and they were together till I was 8 years old. My dad was a mechanic, and so we always had like toys, a few things that we liked. You know what I mean? Even if it was knockoff stuff, we didn't do without. I mean, we lived in a shack of a trailer, holes in the floor, stuff like that. But as you know, a lot of people in poverty, they sometimes, because of handouts or whatnot, or I would call them hand ups. That people have given things, and so help provide for kids. But after my parents got divorced, we didn't really get a whole lot. And so I remember many of times us not having power or food and things like that. And I remember one Christmas, and I shared this with our middle schoolers a week ago. I showed a picture of the trailer I lived in, and so we didn't eat food for about 3 days, and had no food, and so I knew something. I was very observant. I knew something wasn't right, and I knew we were poor because I've heard people say stuff and call me poor and stuff, and so I really didn't know what that word meant per se, and but I remember us going out, not having food, and then some food got dropped off on our doorstep, and so we had food, and so, which was great, man. It's like magic, right? And so we ended up having to go cut down a piece of a pine tree and put it in a 5-gallon bucket, and that was our Christmas tree. And dude, we didn't even have
like a branch,
like a branch, dude. It was a branch and we put that in the middle of the floor of this like raggedy trailer. I remember having to get tetanus shots because I would always rub against that rusty trailer and cut myself, and I had to go to the health department, which it was free, and to get a shot. And so, but I remember being realizing something ain't right, and we cooked popcorn on the stove. And we had power, and
that's just how you used to do it.
What now?
That's how you used to do it.
Yeah, and it's funny because right after Christmas, by end of January is when the ice storm came. We didn't have food, we didn't have power or anything. We didn't pay the power bill, and it ended up we all got pawned off to different people in the family to take care of us. But on this occasion, we had popcorn, dude, and so I remember us stringing popcorn to make kind of like a wreath type of thing around our little
like
pine tree.
Garland around it.
Dude.
Yeah.
Check it out. So we were so poor, we had, that was it. I remember waking up, it was probably Christmas Eve, getting up and looking, and there was garlic, but there also was about 1,000 roaches on the popcorn. They were eating. We had roaches everywhere, dude, and we had roaches so big you could see their eyelashes. They would throw up gang signs at us.
That's what I was telling our church on Sunday. It was like, I grew up in didn't grow up. I spent some time in Harrisburg, and the yard was infested with fleas and the house infested with roaches. And I was like, nobody's saving money to go to Harrisburg.
Right.
In fact, you probably don't even need to save money. That's
right.
But when you know the roaches by name,
that's right,
or you name them, then
right.
you know it's that bad.
Dude, that's how it was. It was roaches everywhere, and it was just having a feast on these popcorn. And so, Merry Christmas to the roaches.
We had to pick. You couldn't eat Raisin Bran because you'd have to pick through to see if it was those little German
That's
roaches
right.
or if they
That's
were
right.
raisins. So
Yep,
I think I ate
it.
my friend Bob one time eating Raisin Bran.
Yeah.
Daggum.
So
we Bob.
They're all little antennas. The roaches. They start wilding out. Their antenna starts doing this number.
I remember one time. I think, if I remember correctly, I was younger, but I'm quite certain, and she listens from time to time, I know, my sister Kelly, I'm quite sure she had one of those palmetto
the
big
giant
roaches fly into her mouth.
Kelly, gosh.
I think that was my other friend Fred. She ate my friend Fred, spit him in half. But
oh, gosh. Dude.
She'll have to confirm that, but I'm pretty sure it flew into her mouth.
So if those don't know, those are like palmetto bugs. They're just ginormous roaches, and if you step on them, you hear a pop. It sounds like a gunshot. Pow, pow.
Yeah, they
you got
pop.
duck and crawl on your where Nick and I live.
They'll chase a cat.
They would chase a cat. They they're like they crouch down like they're about to attack. They're like a lion. Like they're just wild.
But hey, if you train them, they're good defense.
Good defense. That's man. Ain't nobody gonna mess with you. You come at you start. What if you had superpower and it was roaches and you just like slung roaches at everybody? You'd win every fight, dude.
That's right.
So
they say nuclear like blasts don't even kill them.
They don't, dude. They'll survive anything, dude.
Yeah.
So yeah, we ended up didn't have anything, and I knew how it was. So Christmas morning ended up. I remember it like it was yesterday. I got up. It was cold. I walked down the little skinny hallway. You know how a trailer is. And I walked down skinny hallway and knew we weren't going to get anything. Knew that this is what, and there was one gift for me underneath the tree. There were 3 gifts. One for my brother, my sister, and myself. And that one gift was a G.I. Joe.
Nice.
And was it the one I was wanting? No, it was not. But it was a G.I. Joe. And I found out later on my uncle had given some money to my mom to help cover the power bill and to help cover, like, give the kids a Christmas. And so like we only had one gift, and that's still to this day the greatest Christmas gift I've ever received in my life, because I knew we weren't going to get anything. And it sounds easy to say, but when you're in 4th, 5th grade, that's a big deal, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're going to go to school and 2 weeks later, and your friends are all going to have stuff, and you're not going to have anything.
Right.
And then when you got to be a teenager, my family didn't do gifts a whole lot or anything like that. The family, and so I remember us not getting anything as a teenager from a mom and all, because we didn't have any money. So I would do, all my friends at school, I worked 3 jobs. I buy my own clothes, buy my own stuff that I would want for Christmas, and I would tell everybody I got that for Christmas.
You just get your own.
I get my own, and I would say, "Oh yeah, my mom got me this." I would completely lie to everybody, because 2 things. 1, I didn't want people to think that I didn't get anything.
Yeah.
But then 2, I didn't want people to think bad of my parent, my mom.
Right. Yeah.
And my mom was trying hard.
Yeah.
I mean, and so it's just what it was.
It's just limited to what you
man.
could do.
So
looking back, was that like the actual G.I. Joe, or was it like G.I. Jose?
No, it was G.I. Joe. It was from the G.I. Joe the movie, dude.
Okay.
It was like a legit G.I. Joe. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And what's funny too is that later on I got to be a teenager, and I was working jobs and whatnot, and I was like probably 17. I had little cousins, and they're remember one year they weren't going to get anything for Christmas. Like things were tight, and an uncle came to me and he was like, "Hey, do you want to help? Help them out." And so, and I got to be Santa Claus, man. I remember like it was yesterday. We went to Walmart and went to Rose's, which was a department store, and bought bikes and all kinds of stuff. And I was like a 17-year-old, and I remember buying bikes, what about Hot Wheel race car tracks and stuff like that. And we just bought all this stuff and took it to their house and set everything up, you know. And so that when they wake up, we didn't wrap gifts. Is that when you woke up, everything is set up around a tree. Yeah. The race cars had the tracks and everything had its, and yeah. And so that I got to do that. And so I've always found it hard to receive gifts. I think it's from my childhood. So I don't really, but I love giving people gifts. I love blessing people, and I just have always had a thing to just want to help people. And so, and I hope that my kids, hopefully, kids learn more about what they see than what you tell them, and we're always, as parents, we're always pointing to our kids what's important. And so hopefully my kids will grow to be the same way, and at least see that. How about you, man?
When you live it, also you understand, like, even when we do our mission stuff up in Baltimore, to see what those kids don't have or what they get excited over, a simple ball or something that may be kind of an included gift as a part of much more, it might get tossed aside. But for those kids, even some of the parents are like, because Mike has a room of stuff that's been donated and stuff, and so he'll give out a lot of basketballs, footballs, stuff like that. And some of the parents are even like, "You've got 5 balls," but for them, it's something special. That's or right. They live an hour, like we're in Augusta, Georgia, for those who wouldn't know. And so we're an hour from Columbia, South Carolina. So if we want to go to the zoo, in fact, for my birthday, I wanted to go, everybody was raving about the lights at the zoo. So we went and ate dinner up in Columbia, and then we went to see the lights at the zoo. And, that's a quick hour trip. Well, in Baltimore, those kids live like an hour from Washington, D.C. with a bunch of free museums and stuff like that, air and space museum, things like that. And yet they've never been there because their parents just don't have the money or the transportation and means to go an hour up the road. Yep. So for them, things like those inflatable bounce houses that are to us so common, to them is like going to Six Flags or Disney World. Dude. It's something big for them. So, I think the less you have, the more you appreciate. Mm-hmm. And then the more, as you get older, you understand the value of giving and helping other people who don't have. Yeah. And I know for us, my parents, my dad sometimes worked 2 and 3 jobs. I did have a complete home. There was even a time when we lived in Barnwell, South Carolina. I think I was in like 2nd, 3rd grade, something like that. And my mom was working at Walmart. So I remember us going even to a Christmas party there, and then they gave the employees an opportunity to, I guess they got discounts, so they got to go, shop for the Christmas gifts. Because I remember we'd be like, hey, go over there, and they would put something in the buggy and kind of cover it up. But we also have an aunt. My oldest cousin named her. Her name is Karen, but she somehow got named Dutta. And so she is Dutta. Okay. So, every cousin growing up, and she wasn't married for the longest time. She married late in life, married an older gentleman, and then he has since passed away. But she's kind of always been like second mom. So between her and my mom's mom, who we would call Granny, they would always make sure that we had gifts. And Granny would go, she had a whole room that she would collect stuff throughout the year. Oh, gosh. And she called it Kmart. And so anytime we would go to her house, I was always kind of one of the younger of the cousins, but I was like typically the only boy. And like every Friday night we would go to Granny's house because she had health issues and stuff. So everybody would just kind of go there. And that's why a lot of our cousins are like brothers and sisters. We've grown up together. And so they would put me up to, even though like going to her house, my dad would say, do not ask for anything. But then you get around the cousins who are bigger than you and stuff like that. And they would say, hey, Nick, go ask Granny if she'll open Kmart. And so, of course, I'd go in there, and guess what? All of the other cousins would get to choose something if she would open Kmart. And then I would be standing in the corner because I would get in trouble because my dad would say, go stand in the corner because I wasn't supposed to ask for anything. So they would go get toys and I'm standing in the corner. So Granny, she would send us home with black trash bags oftentimes, but as a kid, you didn't know what that was until you got older. And it was Christmas gifts. And so even though my parents might be able to provide a little bit, it was a bigger Christmas because she, sent stuff home before Christmas and didn't want the credit. It wasn't like this is from Granny. Those would be more from like Santa or whatever that might be. And so it allowed us to have more because but that's what she would do. She would go to the blue light special, at Kmart and some of the others. And so she always took care of us, and she didn't have much. She was abused. Her husband, who we call Papa Jack, my dad, in his episode 7, talked about my mom's upbringing, alcoholic and all that. She didn't have much. She raised 6 kids essentially by herself. So she understood the value of not only helping provide, but also just what you need.
Yeah.
She would find a pair of shoes like your size and she'd buy them for you.
Yeah.
Well, everybody else at school's got Nikes and I've got Silver Series.
Yeah.
And then, they tear up, you kind of put up a fuss. I never complained to my grandma. Because when cousins did that, I heard her say one time, I won't buy her anything anymore then. And so you didn't want to complain. And then, but when you get home, you tell mom and dad, I don't want to wear those. Yeah. Those are Walmart shoes, and then no lie, put up a fuss about wearing the Silver Series. They were like $7 shoes at Walmart, and then you go to school playing football, recess and stuff, and they start tearing at the sole the very first day because it's just plastic junk.
That's right.
And I got in trouble for that because I put up such a fight not to have to wear them that when I did and they tore up, my dad thought I tore them up on purpose so I didn't have to wear them. And so it's like, no, they just tore up.
Daddy Carnes,
easily.
he did not tear them things up.
Did not
you
tear
owe
them
him
up.
a pair of shoes this Christmas. Buy him some shoes, Daddy Carnes.
He used to tell us that all the name brand shoes and all the off-brand shoes came off the same assembly line, and they just put different names on them. So he lied to us too.
Gosh.
And then my mom would tell us that liars hang by their tongues in hell. So Dad's lying to us, and Mom's over here telling us that liars are going to hang by their tongues in hell.
Your dad was like, he got you those Cougars instead of those Pumas.
Right, yeah.
He got you the
But it's so funny,
juice.
and we've talked about this, how Starter used to be the brand.
Oh, yeah,
now
dude.
it's the off-brand at
100%.
Walmart.
Yes, right.
Champion used to be the off-brand at Walmart and Kmart, and now it's like the high-dollar brand. So we should have held on to that stuff.
He should.
Silver Series is going to be big one day, I believe.
100%, dude.
I don't even know if
that's
they sell
wild,
it
man.
anymore.
It's funny, though, you have the fond memories and even the memories that would be considered not so good. Now you look back and go, oh man, you see the big picture of it, and it makes you have joy. Just
and for Christmas, for me, Christmas, it wasn't always just about the gifts. That's always fun. You always have something you look forward to, and that's a big time. To me, I'm just very family oriented. I love my family.
Right.
I love my aunts and uncles and grandparents and cousins. And so to me, the family being together, when you're younger, going downtown and the lights hanging up on the light poles, it was just more, there was a feeling, and I don't as an adult feel that really as much anymore, because when you're young, you're innocent, you're not busy and wrapped up into all the craziness. And so it was just special because of the music and the lights. And so
we used to do Christmas Eve at my grandma's. We never went there for Christmas Day. It was always Christmas Eve. And then you reach a certain, it was always about the babies, the kids, and then you reach the point where you're a teenager, it ain't about you at all. Like everything shuts down. Like you move from the kid table to the big person's table, and no one's gonna ever show you any grace. Like you're just gonna be treated harshly or whatever. And so when my grandma passed away back in 2009, we didn't get together anymore. And so at that point, it was always about the babies and about them, my grandma and granddad. And we'd always buy stuff for them that they need around the house and to take care of their needs. And it was about the babies. And so anywhere in the middle, you didn't receive not one gift, but it was about family, and you're telling stories like what you're saying, it was always about that. And so now we don't have any of that. Now we just try to, now working in church, usually Christmas Eve, we're doing services and whatnot. And then we did my family, my sister and my mom. We did that a week ago, and so and that's something that's it could be very hectic because my family's very loud, but this go around we learned to enjoy it, and my sons love it. I mean, they really look forward to it, and so to them it's still kind of magical. It's like a routine, but we really try really hard to make the Christmas the week before and the week after just make the whole season just fun. Every night we do something else and make it. And so, yeah, you're right, dude. It's just about family and looking forward to that. And my kids don't really think about gifts as much when they do, but it's not the key thing. Like they really are looking forward to when we do Grinch night, where they take pretzels and make chocolate and we put green dye in it, and then they get to make their own like pretzels with green pretzel rods type of thing. And then we watch the Grinch and we have a Grinch float. We do the lime sherbet and then we eat some food, and then we always go out to dinner one night. And my kids love to go out to dinner because we never do. Yeah. And so it's special to them. They can pick anything they want. And so,
well, I had to wait till Christmas for gifts anyway, because my birthday's on the 16th.
Dude,
9 days away. So you would get a lot of, that's your Christmas and your
they combine
birthday.
That, dude. They give you a combo.
And then you look over to your cousin who you went to his birthday party.
Yeah.
He got gifts. And he's getting the same thing you're getting. Because once again, Grandma, she would always hold back stuff so when she could give it to you.
That's right.
So she's helping the family. But then she would say, this is, I put your Christmas and your birthday in there.
Uh-huh.
And then she's getting things on clearance. So it's like, this shirt. So I need one in this size for Nick and this size for Ryan and this size for Ben. And so everybody's getting the same thing anyway. But mine's my Christmas and my birthday. Theirs is just their Christmas because on their birthday, like in April, they got a gift.
That's right.
And so that's why it couldn't ever be about the gifts, because you're just going to get burned anyway.
Did you get anything that, like, for your birthday that you enjoyed, like BB gun perhaps, or something, a gift?
Not that I can recall that was special. The most special thing, and I think it was for my birthday, was one of the, talking about G.I. Joe, it was the Cobra, but it was the blue A-10 airplane. And
was
once again,
was it a Rattler?
Yeah. And so my I don't know, once again, we were living out of town and we moved to Bainbridge for about 8 months. That's where we were talking about my dad was pastoring a church, eating eggs in episode 7 a lot. So I know they didn't have a lot of money. So I don't know if my grandma or my aunt kind of sent that when we moved so that they went ahead and kind of put it aside. But I don't know what I was doing in my parents' bedroom. Probably supposed to be taking a nap or something. And instead of taking a nap, was kind of exploring. And I found it beneath their bed where they were, I guess, hiding it until my birthday. And so every day that I would have to take a nap, and I don't know how long it was there. I don't know. Back then, I was like 5, turning 6 years old. I don't know the time frame, but I know multiple times I would just go in there and go just look under the bed looking at the box. Excited to get it and waiting, knowing that it was, of course, for me, because if my brother was born, he was like 1.
Yeah.
And then I have a sister. And so I would go in there and look at it every day, excited until either for my birthday or Christmas.
Yeah.
And who knows, it could have been my birthday and Christmas together, since it was
combo.
one of the, those vehicles were expensive.
Oh, yeah. Well,
so
I always think Cobra always had the best, some of the best figures, and the vehicles are always better. And you're always like, man. And then when you play with them, you always make them a anti-villain, or you make them turn into a good guy, just so you have that.
I just had a basket of like He-Man, G.I. Joe, and then off-brand stuff, and I just called it my monsters. And I'd pull them out, and then they could be good guys, bad guys. It didn't make a difference. You just mix it up.
Dude, that's so awesome. You were talking about gifts and getting gifts. I think that not to do the shift up, but just thinking through, it is Christmas, it is gifts, but start thinking through like different gifts that we have as men. We're all being given gifts and different talents, giftings, and all that. And so with that, do you feel like men use their gifts to the best of their ability? Do you see that? And like in like your sphere of influence and you see guys actually active in that, or do you see more guys today more passive in like they have giftings and maybe they're like nervous of using them, or does that make sense? Because I have my take on it, but I would love to know your take.
Well, I think it's a wide variety of different perspectives because I think we can have multiple gifts. Yeah. And so whether it be a career or whether it be outside of even work, like let's just take the church, for example. I see a lot of men who could be using gifts and talents to a better ability that are not. Like I'm of the perspective, I don't play around when it comes to faith. Yeah. You're either in or you're out. Yeah. You're either all in or you're lukewarm. You're playing games. I'm like, hey, if you're going to follow King Jesus, then you follow King Jesus, and it's not halfway in. It's not I pick and choose. So you can call me an extremist in that way. I just believe that's just being a person of faith. And so with that, like let's just take the church for example, because we're both pastors in different respective roles. For me, there should be no man in the church who is not serving in some way. Yeah. There are some, like we have a man here that's in his 90s. I mean, he's limited to what he can do anymore. But his story of how he has used his various gifts and talents over the years is phenomenal. Man. He and his wife have fostered over, I think, close to 100 children. Man. He used to work on the buses that the church he went to and was a part of had, and just purchased buses. Like he took what God gave him and used it to the full ability that he could in the years he had the physical ability. Now he's limited physically, but just his presence, just the fact that he is here on Sunday, using what physical ability he has to get down the steps, to get in the door. And there's just through him sharing his experiences and his stories, he still has value to give to younger men. Physically, he's not able to do as much, but he brings a sense of value. But listening to his stories is just so encouraging. So I'm of the sense that I don't think any man, like in the church world, should be idle and should be passive, because God has placed within them gifts and talents that are to be used within the church, but also that's in the world around us, whether it's serving and helping. Let's say you're an electrician and God's giving you kind of a passion for that, skills with that, whether through education or natural ability. Like there's widows and there's single moms, and there's those who are low income. Maybe they're struggling right now, maybe without a job or whatever. That like you can serve those people with those gifts and those talents. And so, yes, I think men are not. I don't want to just brush with a broad stroke and go, that it's an epidemic among men, but it is pretty significant with a lot of men not using their gifts and their talents, just kind of sitting back, or it's just like, well, I do this for a job and then that's it. They're not using them outside of just how they can benefit, and that's by earning money. They're not benefiting the world in some way by using those gifts and talents and their abilities. They are more, it's more almost selfish, or maybe it's fear. Maybe they're told,
that's a good word right there.
Don't do that. Don't, you can't do that.
Yep.
So I think it's lacking in many ways. What about yourself?
Yeah, dude. Well, I love what you said. You were talking about the gentleman and, like him, like stewarding, using his, that's what the first thought I had was like, he had, he just had a heart just to serve, and obviously, if he bought buses or vans or whatever, and held the ministry and then took care of foster care kids and whatever. I mean, he just had an incredible knack of stewardship, using every resource available to him, and he had just a knack. He has a knack of taking those resources and being able to multiply and be able to let this be used for this, and it takes finances to get vehicles, and then to raise babies and to think through all that. And then I think that's just an incredible gift of like stewardship, period. And now he has the gift of presence. Right. There's power in presence. And so some people, they just step in the room and the whole temperature, everything changes. And so I think sometimes you reach a certain level, there's not an actual level, but you gain a lot of equity with people and a lot of influence. And so when you step into a room, the whole room shifts dynamic, and there's power and presence in that. Some people, they just can step into a room and they just have just a knack, a gift of just bringing calmness and control of situations. But you need to be in a room to do that. Right. And you need to show up. And so I see the same thing, man. I see the same thing. What I love to see, though, is when I see men who are gifted, whether it's mechanical or we could use that for an example. Somebody who's like a mechanic and they help other people out, like what you're saying. In the church, they know somebody, and so they use their gifting and to as a gift to give it away, And so since we're in Christmas time, you're giving presents and you're giving gifts to people, and but every day we should be giving what has been given to us, whether it's physical abilities or knowledge, skills that we've had, and to learn to benefit other people other than ourselves. I see that with even with dads, for instance, or husbands. I've seen that with husbands where the husband, have a gift of leadership, but in the home, like outside, they're like great, and then in the home, it's just like something happens. They just shrink back, don't know what's happening, and if people come in for a counseling, I look at the situation and go like, man, I trust them as a leader, like they're awesome, but then when they get together in the marriage issue, like you start playing this whole thing out in a counseling role, and you're drawing your notes and you're looking, you're going like, man, he's just not, she needs a leader. He's not even being a leader in his home. So what's the deal? And sometimes it's fear, like what you're saying. And sometimes you're just kind of like, I don't even know. And the guy says he doesn't know. And you see that with their kids too. Like they're so intentional. Yeah. And they have a gift of intentionality, just like so intentional and know how. But when it comes to their kids, man, it's just like, psh, like that's my wife to raise those kids. And it's like, bro, you're missing out. Their kids are missing out on what you bring to the table. Right. And you're totally not giving it to them. That's kind of frustrating. Some things that I don't like to see. And
well, I wonder also if some people may not understand. Maybe they're looking to maybe specifically at what a gift might be, not understanding. For instance, someone might be very gifted at negotiation or something like that. I think about Tristan, my 17-year-old, when he was in school, he comes home with $5, and we're like, where did you get that $5? And he said that I forget which grade he was in, but he had convinced an older student that was like in 5th grade. I think he was maybe in 3rd or something like that. He had convinced a 5th grader who was smart and loved to do school stuff to do his homework for him. So the 5th grader's doing the homework for Tristan and paid him $5 for the privilege of doing Tristan's homework. So Tristan has always kind of had this gift, this natural gift, almost like a salesman, or some might call it a con artist, but it's like, but he has this gift of persuading people. In 2020, when we were doing a lot of online church stuff and all, he puts this whole proposal together of what camera equipment we needed and put everything together with the links. He has a gift of persuasion and stuff. So that's kind of like a natural gift. But then you have physical gifts, like how you've talked about, having your neighbor and how when you're cutting your grass, how you teach your sons, hey, we're going to cut this grass as well because we have this physical ability, this gift that God has given us. Yeah. So there's natural gifts, I believe, and then there's those that maybe we overlook, that it's almost like I look at a problem and go, I can solve that. I can fix that. I've got the strength, I've got the know-how, or whatever it might be. And I think as men, we kind of neglect that. We look at a problem and we may point out that it's a problem. We need to call someone, maybe it's in the church or maybe it's in the business. We need to call someone to fix this versus going, I know how to fix that. I'll go ahead and take care of it. I'll do it.
So why do you think that that's I see that just in where I'm at, culture, like everywhere I go, I see that a lot where people just, what we call the diffusion responsibility. Like they see a problem and they know they can fix it, but they're not going to do it.
Yeah.
Like, well, why do you think that? Why do we think that's like, I feel like that's a problem. like if I'm speaking personally, like I feel like that's been a problem where everybody's like diffused of responsibility. You know what I mean? And it goes back to like we've seen videos before we've watched where there's like somebody getting beat up or something, and there's guys watching it, and they're just not going to jump in, you know?
Well, oftentimes because they're recording or they're cheering it all. Look at all the phones and those videos.
And it's like, oh, they're just not jumping. It's like, oh, do you see there is a problem?
Right.
And you are a human with a heartbeat, so like just get up and go do something about it.
Right.
But nobody does it.
Some of it could be laziness. Some of it could be lacking the permission. Somebody's afraid. Think about. So I think a lot of us carry stuff from childhood into adulthood. Just because we've gotten older doesn't mean we've gotten past our, hang-ups.
Yeah.
And so I think some guys, ladies as well, still live with a fear from their, childhood of like, maybe they would do something and get in trouble. So now I'm afraid to take the initiative because I might get in trouble. I might get my hand slapped or, whatever that might be because maybe that's how it was at home. Very strict parents. So instead of being kind of on the edge, like for instance, go back to my son, Tristan, we try to be a little different in how we parent. We have rules, but we also are trying not to be so like extremely hard on things that aren't necessarily the case. Well, I walk out one Saturday morning to go because the church had landscape and I need to go open everything up for that and stuff. And so as I walk out into the yard, Saturday morning, there's a race car parked in my yard. And so I take a picture of it and send it to Nikki. It was like, where did this race car come from? Because Friday night we get home from date night, no race car. Saturday morning, race car. Tristan had went and bought a race car and now it's at the house. And it was like, hey, it'd be good if you asked if you could buy this race car. Number one, you're 17. Number two, it's parked in my yard.
That's right.
And so, but he feels the freedom to be himself because that's not something I'm going to come down hard. Like now we may need to talk about some things like, let's pre-talk about things. Where are we going to park this now? There's some things now to work out. But we've wanted him to be free to be himself. Even if he gets it wrong, we can then make corrections from there.
That's right.
But not to where he's fearful to do anything.
That's right.
I hope he grows up to go, there's a problem, I can solve it.
That's right.
And even if I do it wrong or whatever, if I get in trouble, I can say I'm sorry, but at least my intentions were right. I'm going to step in and try to solve a problem.
That's right.
So, I mean, initially, that's kind of my thought on that.
Yeah. T-Baby. Like, I've always loved Tristan. Anytime I ever needed anything, I just call Tristan and he'll scoot on by.
Yeah, I thought I had a truck one time. He's fixing your brakes.
Yeah. I don't think I told you even that I was coming over. Did you walk out and you just...
I think he mentioned something about doing your brakes. I just didn't know you were bringing it there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I just dropped. I was like, all right, well, here we go. They need some
Does
pocket
it still
change.
stop?
What now?
It still stops?
But the brakes?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he does a great job, dude.
He has a good, generous, giving heart.
He does.
He was out working on a couple people's vehicle this week, and he was out till midnight on Sunday helping a friend with his drive shaft, and then he was welding something for a friend on his truck like 2 nights ago. So he's one of those that he's using his gifts, and he is serving even his friends, but he's got a very generous heart.
Yeah.
And he's a very giving young man.
Yeah, when I think of the gifts, I think of like we talked before about superheroes and like the Avengers, and they all assemble, and everybody has different gifts, different giftings. Some people have a shield as a weapon, and some of them, like the Hulk, he is the weapon, you know. And then some are super smart, and some of them, like the Hulk again, is not smart unless you watch the newest episodes. And so when they did the Hulk dirty. But if you look at it, they all come together, assemble to fight one common enemy most of the time.
Yeah.
And so that I have that desire for men, and I know that you have that desire as well, that men would just come together as a brotherhood and like fight against the things that corrupt our society and tries to lessen the roles of men and try to fracture the home, the intact home. and all those things. And so that is something I wish, and I just hope that if a guy's listening, that we would do a self-evaluation. I know I do those often. I know you do that as well. We just think about where we're at. We always want to be better than we are. We always say 1% better, and that they would hear it and they go, all right, I need to probably think about what I'm good at, what I've gained in knowledge, and what I naturally have abilities, and how I can use that just to help people in general. Yeah.
Well, and if I could encourage our men that are fathers, because this is something I want to challenge even myself on, and that is to, as you see, so we can't do anything about the generation before us.
Yeah.
What we can do is something about ourselves, and what we can do is something for the next generation that we're raising in our own homes. Yeah. And so I saw a video the other day, and it was talking about how your children will repeat what essentially is praised, or what is mentioned. Yeah. So if you're constantly calling your child down about something, you're going to see that behavior because you're giving it attention.
Yeah.
And so what this person was talking about is there's studies that have proven the more that you call out the good and you praise the good in your children, the more you're going to see that behavior repeated. And so as we're talking about this with giftedness and talents and the things that we want to see our young men and even young ladies, use to better the world, to better their homes, maybe it starts with us in calling that out in our children as we see it, or they don't see it yet, but we see it and say, hey, you have this gift. You God has given you this special gift, and this is how you can use it to better other people's lives. This is how you can use it to glorify God. This is how you can do it to serve the community. These are and start calling that out and showing them the way, so that when our sons are sitting in this spot, that they're the new male cartel, and they're having these conversations. Maybe it's not as significant of an issue, but now we see more young men using their gifts in various different ways to change the world around them, because we've called it out in them, and we're calling them up to something greater.
Man, dude, I mean, that just speaks to me. I know that that I need to do a better job at that. I mean, I need to hear that. But I get a passing grade, I would say, yeah, but I need to do better. I just need to, because that I think I saw the same study that you're talking about, and so if you're a man who your dad who is just kind of quiet in home because you just work a lot, which we just praise God that you work hard, you're hard worker, you provide for your family. That is, 2 big thumbs up for that. But we need to be intentional with that with our kids, and I think that's phenomenal. Well, I know that we're kind of short on time, but I do want to do something fun at the end, because we wrap up. This is the last time we record of 2023.
That's it. This is it. This is our 11th episode.
Yeah.
The final of 2023. Who knows? Maybe the final of season 1, 2024. Start season 2. It's been great. Been such a fun time already.
Yeah, it's been awesome. And I'm glad that I do it with you.
Absolutely.
Nicholas, and we have producer Corell.
He's
been kind of quiet over there. I haven't looked at it. We talk about no girls, but 2024, we're going to get you a little ladybug. We're going to make sure we can
get him hooked up.
Get you hooked up, dude.
Hey, I do want to point out a couple of things before we get to our closing segments that we talked about. One, I had an amazing time, an amazing conversation with Dustin Alley on Men After God podcast. And so that is out now. And so while people are waiting for our 12th episode, if they've not checked that out already, they can go hear my conversation, and then you also were on there as well, so they can search.
Yeah, you can search for mine too. Mine is not as clear in the production as Nick, because I didn't have a good mic.
You can go to GoFundMe and you can search for Shane's microphone, and you can give towards the fund that I set up to get Shane a good microphone for his future podcast opportunities. And so you can hear the difference. Go listen to Shane's and listen to mine. I was using one of these microphones that we use here.
Yeah, I was using my headphones.
Yeah, so we're going to help Shane with that, and so you can go to GoFundMe. But thank you, Dustin, for having both of us. Great conversations. Please, if you have subscribed to us, you can go subscribe to him as well. especially if you're a follower of Jesus and are wanting to be a man after God. A lot of great conversations, a lot of people you'll know that have been on there as well, a lot of new people that you'll meet. And so we would encourage that. And then beyond that, I just want to, like we were just saying before we get to those two last segments, is just it's been exciting this year to get this started. And yes, 2024, we're going to have a lot more guests and conversations, and it's going to be really good. So
it's going to be lights out.
So what do you got on the next segment?
All right, we got two things. We did it on the very first episode, and as we close, I thought, man, this would be really good for us to do. Flex your pecs. Guys, we just want to flex the pecs a little bit, and flex a pec for that I know of in my world is I want to give Jacob Dorn a flex your pec, and so because he the church parking lot was flooded, and Jacob is a definition of a man. If you open a dictionary, you would see a picture of Jacob in that, and Jacob was like, "Hey, you know to call me, right? If you need me out there, I'm out there trying to, it's cold, super cold, and freezing outside, and then it was flooded everywhere, and I'm out there trying to do the best of my ability to get the water subsided, flooded the place in the parking lot." And he was like, "I got my scuba gear. You better call me. I'll come out of church and I'll jump in the water with you." And so I was like, it was just awesome, and it didn't surprise me they did that, but him just being a man and him saying it as he's dressed up for church, he's like, I got my scuba gear.
Nice.
He's ready. He was ready. He was like, I get up for this, and I was like, me too. I get up for this. Is like a man thing.
Yeah,
it just makes you go, "Rrr," and just to jump in, and so I was like pumped, man. So yeah, he's my flex your pecs.
And when another man is doing that, you as a guy, even if you didn't want to, now you can't say anything because you look like a little like the mansectomy.
That's right.
It ain't happening. I got to talk to Jacob on the phone because he started his White Buffalo. I think that's what it is. White Buffalo line, and he is sold out and on back order. But we're talking to him about promoting some of his stuff. But also just amazing that he just started that, and within overnight he was sold out and on back order. And so we're excited for him because he listens to the podcast and has been a big supporter. And so congratulations, Jacob, on flexing your pecs. Hopefully he smelt good while he was doing that with his
always
new
smells
line
good
of cologne and beard oil. Mine is Mike Kemper, who is the pastor of Charm City Church in Baltimore.
Let's
we
go,
were
Mike.
talking about Baltimore just a moment ago, but just the stuff that he deals with up there.
Yeah.
The fact that he's been doing it for many years, I often look and go, I don't know if I'd still be doing it. And so recently they actually just dealt with a theft where they were saving money for a building that we helped them purchase for a women and children's kind of center and transitional center. And very devastating. And so it just reminds me of that's not the first time they've dealt with junk like that where they're at, and dealing with a lot of the riots several years ago, and just it's a constant just spiritual battle with people and issues, and yet he stays faithful. He's there preaching the gospel. He's there giving his life and serving the least of these. And so for me, especially in this time of the year, Mike Kemper is the one who's flexing his pecs, and just showing what a true man does. And they serve and they sacrifice despite what they get back in return.
Man, Mike is the big back. Big back is when you see it, and you know this, all men, if you're listening or you're watching, I'm looking at the camera, when you see that dude from behind and you see the big old broad shoulders, and you immediately, you didn't get to see what his front looks like. You know he's a beast because his back is shredded, and traps and everything. You're like, man, that dude looks like he can bench press a house, at least a Volkswagen or something, And that's Mike.
Yeah.
Well,
he was also a Silver Gloves boxer coming up. He will box your ears off.
He'll punch you in the snot box.
Yeah.
All right. The second thing is mensectomy.
Yes.
So that's the segment where we go, you need to turn in your man card, or anything else you want to add? You want to describe mensectomy, what that looks like for those who are just now tuning in, who didn't listen to episode 1?
Well, mensectomy is kind of self-explanatory.
Yeah.
You're lacking a few things.
That's right.
A couple of things.
Yep. Yeah.
Who's your mensectomy?
Uno dos tres. Yeah. So I would, since I'm looking at the camera, I'm making sure I have some good eye contact to the camera. I give the mensectomy award to anyone who is still griping and whining about the FSU being left out of the championship. Like, if you're still crying and it's been 2 weeks, you need to turn it in. Okay, you're no longer a man. Men don't whine that long. You may have your little hissy fit. You may have your little, I think we get our panties in a wad sometimes. And then we move on. We get over it. So if you're still crying and whining and posting stuff on social media or texting your buddies or commenting on every single post, whatever that looks like, yeah, you're no longer a man, okay? I'm just going to say that. You've gotten ovaries. Can I say that?
Yeah, you can say it.
Yeah.
You can say which one. This is our show.
You grew ovaries, okay? Like Nick, my co-host, he grew back his independence. You can grow back you can grow some ovaries, okay? What do you got? What do you got?
Mine is, we're not calling out any specific names this episode, but mine is another general group.
Yeah.
And that's thieves. I'm so sick of thieves. I've been dealing and trying to wrap up the insurance claim on our trailer that got stolen several months ago. And not just that, other things that I know of that have been, where thieves have struck, and that's not a man. If you're a thief, you're not a man. And so, you are, every one of you, and they're probably not even listening to this episode.
Yeah,
it's just in general. This is just for everybody to agree with us.
That's right.
But yes, I'm giving the Mensectomy Award to close out 2023 to the thieves.
The thieves.
The punks.
The punks. You're a punk. You're a buster.
That's right.
You're a buddy. Well, you're not a buddy. So.
No.
All right. Well, anything closing?
That's it. Grateful to have had y'all join us. We do ask with every episode, especially as we close out the year, if you want to give us a Christmas gift, to be sure to like these shows, whether it be on Spotify or Apple, to go and subscribe to them, follow the show. Even if you listen typically like on Spotify, if you have an iTunes account, Spotify won't let you do a written review. And so if you would do us a favor of going to Apple and going to the show and leaving a written review, that will help us, as well as Daddy Mike was saying, what a great episode with him last episode on episode 10. He has done podcasting. He understands. It helps with the algorithm and analytics and all that. So,
Yep. If you enjoy it, share it. And thanks for some of you may not like the banter, but we've enjoyed it today, and hopefully you find some of the content beneficial for you. Like we always say, get 1% better. Hope you guys have a great closeout of 2023, and look forward to seeing you in 2024.
Absolutely. Get 1% better every day. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. We'll see you in 2024.
Peace.
Thank you for joining the Male Cartel Podcast. Be sure to subscribe and share to help other men join the cartel. You can also keep up with us on social media and at malecartel.com.